Here is an example of an application developed on the IQ Certain platform. This was developed in 7 weeks with one staff member to digitally transform second-line defense risk controls for a European global bank. The process they were involved in was trying to manage 50,000 risk controls across the organization, which was very manually intensive. By building it into the app that would run in our web browser, we were able to probably drive an increase in productivity about 40% and maybe save about €1 million a year. The ability to go through all the steps from actually building a roadmap of the controls that need to be assessed through the year, through using thematic analysis, to actually stepping through managing the mission, where we would be able to identify all the controls and individuals that would be allocated to working with that business unit, who are the people in the business unit you need to be working through, and all the tasks, etc., that we need to. The ability then is to actually go in and start using chatbots to automate a very manually intensive process where staff spend about a third of the time actually pulling information from policy and regulation to make sure that the control is correct. So using an example like a "Hey Siri, tell me about employee choice" can save an incredible amount of time and improve productivity. The facility is to try and use a workflow process. So we're actually aligning, as part of the mission statement, allocating the controls to the staff with the right skills. So the staff member comes in, clicks next control, and will start getting the information related to that process. Then they can start filling in the information. They can review the evidences. So we can say, right, okay, these are the evidences of staff executing these controls in the business line, being able to see the documents that are related to it. If there's information offline, sending emails to the business unit to send them the evidence so that they can assess the control. And they step through next to start pulling the information to build a document. Now, this information is being pulled from several enterprise systems that the organization is using to manage different parts of the risk and control management. Previously, this was being copied and pasted into a spreadsheet and very time consuming. And as we're going through, we step through and start pulling the information from other parts of the system. So we can answer a question here: is the objective of the control described, and see it from the instantiated control, generic controls, and the different key controls. The staff assessor will assess, yes, that sounds acceptable or not, and then move to the next control. We start seeing the information related to the description of the control procedure. Now, the advantage of this is that we're actually pulling information from multiple systems, displaying it on the screen, and answering the question all in one screen, which makes it easy for us to now do machine learning to actually build bots to go through the 50,000 controls and identify weak controls for the thematic analysis. Previously, this was not possible because of the fragmented sources of data and not being able to align it to the decision-making process. And they just step through the processes answering the questions. The advantage at the end of it is that we now have an action plan and being able to step through and say, look, we've identified a problem, work through the business unit, have a workflow so that when the business unit responds, it notifies the assessor instead of the assessor having to spend an extraordinary amount of time chasing the business line around different issues. Now we're actually capturing information into databases instead of thousands of spreadsheets. So we are able to start doing dashboards, being able to identify strengths and weaknesses of controls around the region, and actually then see the different controls and their strengths and weaknesses according to the execution or the documentation, etc. The ability to have audit trails so that we can actually identify where staff have changed roadmaps, etc., identify why it's changed, etc., as these have important regulatory obligations. We also are able to produce this as being a European bank, is to have the screens in German, French, English, and Spanish. This is all done with one person in 7 weeks. So you can see the incredible productivity of the tool to start moving tasks from manual environment to a proper enterprise platform and start delivering real value to the business.